When I reviewed My Vow to My Liege, I mentioned 2 other titles that made up the top 3 rated otome games on Steam. One of these games was Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and I didn't get it. I bought a CD copy of this game years ago, and to my knowledge, it's a horror game. Like, a really scary horror game with no attractive anime boys in sight. Just this old guy's decapitated head. So hearing it had a dating sim portion was a shock, but I was willing to give it a shot. Amnesia has a very unique premise, one that I absolutely love because it is actually incredibly clever and brilliant. You are a girl whose memories were displaced when her brain got impacted by a stray spirit fairy. Just go with it. I promise, it gets better. So after realizing he's stuck in a human girl's head, the sprite, Orion, decides to help you regain your memories. But you first have to decide which parallel world you're from. I know, just wait for it. Once you enter your chosen world, you wake up and start looking for clues to your identity. Every one of the 4 worlds is different from here on out, but 2 things are the same between them. You work at a maid cafe, and you're already dating one of the guys. Okay, so those of you who've played know that isn't entirely true, but that's the game's gimmick. The goal is for you to build on those relationships and regain your memories without alerting anyone to your amnesia because hospitals are bad. So what's so great about this particular premise? I get it, you don't see the brilliance. I'll explain. Most otome games have a particular limitation. Romance drama is strongest right before the couple gets together. Getting them to like you, picking choices that lead to situations where you're alone together, the confession scene, the first kiss, all of these are staples of the otome genre and only exist when a couple is getting together. This means we basically never get to play as a couple because what would be the point? We argue about how many pets we want to own? We decide between brown furniture and darker brown furniture? But because of the amnesia plot already in place, we have a whole new opportunity for storytelling. Now, it isn't just a story about a couple, it's a mystery. Are they telling the truth about your relationship? How long have you been together? How did you feel about this person? How comfortable were you with holding hands? What about kissing? And that's on top of figuring out normal things like, do you have a family? A job? Friends? Any bills or doctor's appointments to remember? What if you were part of a club? Allergic to peanuts? On a watch list as the world's most wanted donut thief? The possibilities are literally endless. So you really get the best of both worlds. You get to play a unique experience with a boyfriend who is already devoted towards you, and you get to experience all those firsts, because you don't remember any actual firsts. Take that plus the addition of the overall mystery of why Orion collided with your brain, how this random guy seems to know when you'll die, and why the weather is strange, and you might get why I say this premise is gold. But that doesn't mean the game always uses that to its fullest potential. Amnesia has a total of 5 routes, 4 normal routes and 1 secret route, and each route is almost entirely unique, so there isn't the hassle of skipping over the common bits of every story to get to the parts where your love interest matters. I'd say 3 out of the 5 routes are pretty great, and the other 2 kinda suck. Ukiyo was my first route, so I'll start with him. I really liked this route as an introduction to the game, but it also was one of my favorite tropes, so I might be biased. This is the hot guy who everybody wants trope, and it functions as you'd want that trope to function. Ukiyo and you date because you're the only girl who doesn't immediately fall in love with him. You have a bunch of rivals trying to get in between your relationship, he falls in love first and has to convince you he's ready for monogamous life. You know, the good stuff. Yes, it's really cliche, but it's the good cliche that you want from this sort of scenario. There is a pretty fun mystery that also comes into play as well. I won't call it clever, but figuring out why everyone is mentioning the end of the month with sad finality is a part of the game that keeps you on your toes, especially since you're hiding the fact you have amnesia from anyone who could give you straight answers. Kent is the best route, except he makes you do math, which I loved, but I recognize I'm in the minority. Kent is a super smart nerd with no social skills. You're his girlfriend, much to the surprise of everyone, including him. And why is this route the best? Well, it just is. It's cute to watch this guy who didn't believe in the concept of love slowly realize how deeply he cares for you and how cold he's been in the past. And he's never too awful to you, so it isn't like a villain redemption. He was just curt and closed off. He makes attempts to do better and doesn't always get them right, but even his failed attempts are adorable. And this is all in addition to a mystery focused on an event that happened right before your amnesia that convinced Kent that you hate him. It's just a really good and wholesome story that easily steals your heart. Shin is the protagonist cliché, a cliché I made up since science has not yet found the courage to delve into the depths of the Otome phenomenon. The protagonist cliché is the one character in the game that it seems the story was made for. They're in the center of the promotional art, they're usually tied to the heroine's childhood, and they're usually the best at something like magic or swordsmanship. If they ever made an anime about that Otome game, that's the person whose route is going to be played. And in my experience, they have always been incredibly bland. Shin is no exception. While the other boys you date don't notice your amnesia right away and learn about it through trust or necessity, Shin just knows. He comes in on your third day and is like, "Say my name or you have amnesia." And since you don't know his name, he knows you have amnesia. And since he knows you have amnesia, he just tells you everything about your life. There goes the mystery element of the game. His personality is also just being overly critical all the time, which doesn't make me want to fall in love with him. But fine, maybe this is all to separate the route from the other routes in a new and interesting way. So, what do they replace the falling in love all over again and the figuring out my past life parts with? A murder mystery. Except no one was murdered, and it was an accident, so it also isn't a mystery. You were the victim, you know you fell on your own, and you're fine now. So what am I supposed to be figuring out? It ends up being a long, drawn-out plot where you basically just listen to Shin's orders because he knows something everybody else doesn't. Honestly, this whole route sucks because they took out the fun parts of the premise and tried to fill it with a plot meant to make you suspicious of Shin. But why would I be? This is literally a game where I choose who I'm stuck with from the beginning? What am I gonna do? Run away from my chosen love interest and just hope it gets me the good end? So yeah, Shin sucks. But he also wasn't the worst. That would go to Tomah. What is it with Big Brother characters drugging you so they can put you in abusive situations? It's like the devs were sitting at a table and one guy was like, "Hey, we've got the guy who cares about you and is a jerk, the guy who cares about you so he acts like a jerk, and the guy who is a jerk but learns that he actually likes you. What do we do for the fourth guy? What if we just made him the kind guy?" Oh no, he can't just be kind. That would be incredibly boring. What if he's the kind one who secretly kidnaps the main character by drugging her and keeping her locked in a cage for the entire story under the guise that he's protecting her? Then, anytime she tries to escape like a normal person, we kill her and give her a bad end because the good end is that she realizes she has a crush on a dude all along, so that makes the whole kidnapping thing okay. My god, that's brilliant! Give this man a promotion! Guys, that's not romantic. It's just creepy. And then there is Ukiyo. I won't talk much about his route because, spoilers, but it comes across as a bit of a mixed bag. The story is really fun, with some high stakes, and I enjoyed learning the reality of the main plot. He's a cute guy with a likable personality, along with the bonus of really long hair. The ending is sound and puts a nice neat bow on the end of the game. But there is a snag in this route. Because of the way the story is told, a lot of the romantic elements are in the past. It almost feels like you jump halfway into the story to the part where something is keeping the couple apart, so they're sad and distant until the climax where they get over their fears to be together. Except that relies on the audience to already connect to the couple's feelings for each other so that you root for them to find a way past that obstacle. In this case though, you don't know their history together. You kind of just get told how they feel about each other through flashbacks, and those occur close to the end of the route, which leaves a whole lot of story that's just, wow, he's so mysterious. Why is he avoiding me, and what did that cryptic thing he said mean? In short, I didn't really feel the romance. Conceptually, I understand how sweet and romantic everything is, but actually playing through it just felt a bit impersonal. Which actually leads me to the main character. The main character is simply a vessel for you to insert yourself. She has no strong emotions, very little agency, and says almost nothing. This is entirely a self-insert story where you fill in the blanks with your own interpretation of what the main character should do. Some people will be fine with that kind of protagonist, others will absolutely despise that. I don't mind as much, but then again, it wasn't the kind of story where I expected much player agency. And that's Amnesia: The Dark Descent for ya. It's a very pretty game with an interwoven story that isn't too important, but adds a bit of incentive for you to play everyone's routes at least once. Its love interests are dressed like they're going to the Final Fantasy Met Gala, but they're still lovable and charming. It has some good humor, the supporting cast is just as good as the love interests, each route is a decent length, and Orion isn't as annoying as Navi.
Hey, listen!
In fact, I have a lot more things that I would love to praise if I had more time, but I also don't want to spoil some of the charming bits of the game for new players. Is this the best Otome game ever? No, but I see this as a very well made and very broadly appealing game that will charm many players who are seeking a heavily romance-based title. And also it has a great price of $10, so why not? Thank you so much for watching another entry in Otome month. Let me know if you have any memories with Amnesia, and I'll see you in the next heart-throbbing adventure. Bye-bye!